It's Michael Houghton here for Play Practice Play Lesson 2 Push Passing. So just a quick recap on Lesson 1. So if you haven't had a chance to look at Lesson 1 yet, please go and have a look at that first before coming to Lesson 2, as it covers the principle of Play Practice Play. The general feedback was that Lesson 1 was good, but it does need to be adjusted depending on your group. So if you do have some members in your group that are new to hockey, then it may not be a bad thing just to cover some of the basics first, such as dribbling, push passing, and tackling, and then we can implement some of the play practice play techniques at the end of the session. For our lesson plan 2, we're going to be covering push passing. This structure is very, very similar as how the lesson plan is laid out to lesson 1. So we're going to do a warm-up. We're going to then play a fun game of possession. Play 1 will be a small-sided game with 3 to 5 seconds max with the ball. Our practice or drill will be passing and moving around a square, and then we'll go back into our play with the same game with the same constraints of 3 to 5 seconds max with the ball. And that's our hockey session. So let's look at it in some detail. So for our warm-up, this slide is actually the same as what we had in lesson 1. We're just really looking to keep it fun and try to make our warm-ups a little bit more interesting than just sort of the same repetitive warm-up that we might have each week. So think about how you can make it interactive and fun for your members, and then just go from there, really. For the warm-up game, we're going to play a game of possession. This is really simple. We basically put our players into 2 teams. We then look for our players to make 5 successful passes in a row to score a point. So team 1, player 1 might make a pass to player 2. That's our first pass. Player 2 might pass to player 3. That's our second pass. Player 3 passes back to player 2. That's our third pass. And once that team makes 5 successful passes in a row, then that's a point for that team. They can then continue to go and make passes in multiples of 5. So if they do continue to make pass 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, then that's 2 points, and so on. If the ball is intercepted or if the play is tackled, then that play, the pass count then restarts. So in that case, it'll go back to 0, in which case then maybe the other team has a chance to get their pass count up, or the ball is intercepted again, and then the game continues. You might want to add some constraints on this depending on your players. So I've seen it played where you can't actually tackle, you just got to look for an intercept only. So just keep that in mind, that you may have to add various constraints depending on how the play goes. If it's breaking down too quickly, then maybe add that constraint that you can't tackle but only intercept. But just to see how you go and adjust that as needed. For play 1 then, we could probably keep the same teams that we had for our game of possession. We're now just looking to go into a small-sided game. This is just a standard goal setup. Maybe if it's the senior team on a half court, if it's a smaller team, maybe on a quarter of a pitch or a quarter of a quarter, depending on how many you have. Again, we're looking to keep our small-sided games, ideally max 6v6, 4v4 or 5v5 is really ideal. The only constraint that we're adding in the game here is that a player can only hold the ball for 3 to 5 seconds. And really what you want to be doing here is adjusting that time depending on the age of your group. So maybe if you're coaching teenagers or seniors, then you'd limit that to 3 seconds max. If they're a younger age group, then it could be 5 seconds max, but adjust that accordingly as you need to. And really we're looking to encourage players to make accurate, fast passing. So the player should work out that a push pass is the best way. But basically we're looking to really have a game here which is going to be based predominantly on looking to pass the ball, knowing that there's a constraint on how long the ball can be played. And obviously if they do take too long, then look to blow your whistle and blow a free in the opposite direction. For our practice then, we're just going to be passing around a square. I can show you the setup now. So basically it's done in groups of 3. So put your players in groups of 3. If you have an extra player, maybe leave one out here and get them to swap and take turns. But basically you set your square, these might be 2 meters apart, and you put, in this case here, the black dots are the cones. You then put your players, which are in blue, around 3 of the cones, and there's an empty cone. Player 1 here starts, the ball here is yellow. They can look to pass to either player. So in this case, they're going to pass the ball diagonally over here to player 2. They then look to run to the empty cone. It's really as simple as that. So they're passing the ball, and then they're looking to move to the empty cone. Player 2 here gets the ball. they can then make a decision to either pass to this player or pass to this player here. And again, they're going to do the same thing. So they might pass the ball in this direction here. And now they're going to make a run across the square to where this empty cone will be, because this first player has now moved to here. Really what we're looking to do here is we'll see a lot of drills where we just pass the ball back and forward, right? So the two players just pass the ball back and forward. The problem with this notion is it's not real to how hockey is played. We should always be looking for our players to make a pass and then make a movement. And so with this drill here of the 4 cones, we're at least seeing them and getting them in the habit of making that pass and then making the movement, which is really going to be important in our small-sided game, because we're looking for our players to create overlaps, and 2v1s and so on is really important. So once we've done that for 12.5 minutes, we can then go back into our small-sided game. Again, this will be the same as what we did in play 1, but obviously we're looking for a higher quality standard of game this time. Hopefully those passes are more accurate, and hopefully we're encouraging then our players to pass and move so that space can be created. After, say, 5 minutes or so, we can remove the constraint of the 3 to 5 seconds, but hopefully players will still look to pass the ball when it's on rather than dribble it. And remember, the whole purpose of play, practice, play is that we're looking for our players to make game-like decisions. And hopefully they can make that decision themselves without needing for us to kind of interact and be so hands-on with them. Finally, I will be posting 14 lesson plans over the next 14 weeks, so do be sure to subscribe to keep in touch. And always remember, we're looking to implement play, practice, play where we can.